Good afternoon. Welcome to the Meltdown. We've managed to accomplish 2 shows in a day. I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks. Michael, thank you for your help, and we are going to roll. Folks, gold is up a little bit. We've been over $1,290 an ounce. Silver's had its own little roller coaster of a day, up 20 cents, down 20 cents. It's interesting because things change quickly, and I keep trying to explain to clients all the time that this is a market that updates the screens every 12 to 15 seconds. Now, certain sites are delayed as much as 30 minutes. This is a market that changes by the moment. And so when you make a phone call and you're ready to lock in a trade, if you don't speak quickly, they'll update the screens on us. It just happens that way. Now, I talked briefly the last couple of days about making sure you folks had a count as to what amount of material is being produced by typesets totally, both new and old. Now the old set we talked about, that's 11 gold plus the 2 pan packs. Most people exclude pan packs. Literally a $50 gold piece made for the 1915 World's Fair in San Francisco. That coin will always sell for a minimum of $50,000, and if you get them third-party authenticated and graded PCGS or NGC, expect to spend over $100,000 per coin. In the half dollars, the old silver commemoratives, if you will, there is a quarter, the Isabella quarter, 1892, the 1900 dated Lafayette dollar. 144 pieces makes up the complete set, Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco. 50 pieces by typeset. Now, we get into the modern issue market. Since 1980, the number comes out to be approximately 122 coins. Now, unfortunately, the Mint doesn't provide the same information today that it would have provided on the older side of the market. Literally, the government, most of us know not to trust very far. I trust them totally. I trust they're going to continue to blow this up. But the truth is that when you get right down to it, we're dealing in a situation where there are numbers for the amount of the business strikes, the amount of the proofs, and then what was authorized to be minted and produced. Now, that's our government throwing curveballs at us. I find it very interesting that today's announcement by the U.S. Mint was the release of the first spouse of 2013. Really quite depressing to think that the U.S. Mint has taken all year to get to this point, and they're starting to release spouse gold. Now, it's exciting. People are going to get excited about the coins being out there. But for me, I'm interested more times than not in areas of the market that aren't being truly manipulated. Now, I know that there are a lot of you that are trying to figure out how to get your hands around the price of gold or the price of silver, build portfolios. Larry, I want to thank you for coming in, working on your portfolio. Folks, when you've got $5,000 or $10,000 to spend, I am not going to be a traditional buy gold kind of a guy. And the reason is that at approximately $1,300 gold, you're going to pay in the $1,350 to $1,375 per ounce for a coin. Maple Leaf, Gold Eagle, Krugerrands, the Buffalo, a lot of different ways to look at the bullion market. Ultimately, if you got $5,000 and you spend basically $1,350, $1,400, you're spending almost a third of the money in one bullion coin. Now, it's important, I reiterate it over and over and over again, that owning multiple types of coins is critical. And when you look at the trend of what the U.S. Mint has produced this calendar year, there was a suspension of basically the quarter ounce and the half ounce sizes. You had investors on one side that were buying 1 ounce gold bullion, American Eagles, and you had the other side, which are their survivalists. Some call them the right wingers. I call him the prudent investor, because if gold were really to hit its true value against the debt, you would find gold trading somewhere in the neighborhood of hundreds of thousands of dollars per ounce. See, we're confused. Everyone believes that it's, quote, the U.S. minted gold that's supposed to be stored at Fort Knox. But gold has been supposedly stored for other countries at Fort Knox. Now, certainly the Federal Reserve in New York, it was a point of attack for terrorists earlier this calendar year. But the truth is that we don't know if there really is any gold at Fort Knox. The building that was built back in the 30s, ultimately, no one's really been able to report anything from the vaults. And no, Ron Paul did try to get an audit of Fort Knox while he was in office. It never happened. We know there are employees. We certainly assume that. But the truth of the matter is that the U.S. government doesn't want to repatriate the Germans for their gold. We've told them it's 7 years, which either means A, the gold's not there, or B, we don't want to cut loose of it. Regardless of the perspective, bottom line is we owe them gold and we're keeping it, or we've used it. I talk about Hugo Chavez and that relationship. Chavez flew to London and went and picked it up. And ultimately, gold is a storehouse of value. We all know it goes back thousands of years. It's a biblical reference to the ownership of gold and silver. There are references to other pieces. Denaries were discussed. And I know a lot of investors that have placed faith in buying the Iraqi currency, trying to denominate their currency. Folks, you can't put $3,000 in and be worth $5 million. Just not going to happen. But that having been said, I look at the coin market different than most. My interest in coins comes from both sides of the aisle. The collectovestor is a collector and investor. You're trying to figure out what to do. I look at coins and I want to find the value. That's why people rely on me and they listen and they take advice. Now, you can go to any of the big companies, and more times than not, if they're not utilizing a loss leader, you want to do business with me. But ultimately, I'm about to place a $5,000 package with a customer, and the $5,000 package is mostly silver. And the reason, that's easy. About 35% upside in the price of gold to test the $1,924 level. More than double is what it would take to get silver back to where it was. And so just the pure numbers. If gold's going to run, silver's going to run with it. And the U.S. Mint, based on the availability of product over the last 5 years, will cease operation. They will stop producing coins. Now, doing some research just before I came on, I found out just by researching, just reading some things that I'd never read before, I found out that there was a planned facility by the U.S. Mint in Oregon. It was quite fascinating, to be quite honest. And in 1870, the facility in Oregon stopped because they couldn't get it produced fast enough. The economy was changing. As a matter of fact, 1872 was a time that we went through a depression that was larger than the one of 1929. We just never read about it. Don't forget, we were still an emerging economy. The Americas weren't quite as sophisticated. And of course, over time, the next 50 years, why the nation grew, the dollar was strong, we had gold reserves, things were great, as Roosevelt had to confiscate gold, take the dollar and control it. And so what's going on today? Well, I, for one, can see the value of an ETF as its paper value, not the gold value. And so this morning's inferences and references to Soros being involved in gold again or John Paulson are relative to paper, not to the physical metal. And when the U.S. Mint and its vendors can't provide the planchets, those are the blanks that coins are struck on, the mint ceases operation. When the price of gold is moving up so fast that they can't keep up, that's a problem as well. They stop producing. It happened several times in the last few years. It's happened in silver when we saw allocated deliveries. It'll happen in gold periodically because the price is volatile. Banks are getting hits. They're being downgraded in their stock values. Now, do you see that in the market today? Not to speak of. My concern is that a 60-point move on the Dow Jones isn't really significant, any more than seeing a 3-cent drop in the price of West Texas Intermediate. Again, that's a non-event. What is an event is when you see an automaker lose 25% of its value, or you hear of a George Soros or a John Paulson moving not 20%. They'll move 3 to 5% or 7% of a stock around before they get to the SEC filings and disclosures. Bill Ackerman truly is one of those noted raiders. And the truth of the matter is that this market, gold, silver, and rare coins, are thinly traded, easy to manipulate. It's why most of the big boys won't get into the market, because the scrutiny that they would take from manipulating a market is huge. And certainly they're going to deal with major issues. So for me, talking about what to buy, why to buy it, how to move things around and take advantage of the market is really critical. Now, in the transactions that I work on, whether we're talking about 5-ounce America the Beautiful, those are big 5-ounce silver coins the U.S. began producing. They are being produced and they're being authenticated. And there are a lot of them that are being left in the original packaging. One of the things I said probably a year and a half or two ago was that somewhere down the road, the real value of numismatics can show up in the fact that most modern issue coins have been sent off to the grading companies. The real value might be in those coins that are left in the original packaging. Now, if the U.S. Mint authorizes 10 million coins to be produced, and 5 to 7 million of them are, and 85% of those coins are in the original packaging or not, isn't going to make a hill of beans. It's not exciting to hear that a limited production of U.S. coins comes out at 350,000 pieces. That's not appealing to me. It shouldn't be appealing to you unless you're paying pretty much the melt value. Now, companies get more creative in their marketing all the time. And there's no free lunch out there. It requires somebody to either buy it properly or be willing to sell it to you properly. That's the way this works. And so when you get right down to it, what I want to be able to convey to you in today's message, this afternoon anyway, is that markets are volatile. They go up and they go down. And so you can invest in real estate and cars and watches and jewelry and art, in rare coins and bullion. There's a lot of different ways to diversify a portfolio and take advantage of what's going on out there. The truth of the matter is that when you're building these portfolios, maintaining a level of liquidity is absolutely paramount. Now, I explain it as a third, and a third, and I also explain that there are comfort levels that different clients are going to achieve. And so in some cases, it may be 40, 40, and 20. In other words, 40% in the bullion market, 40% in the semi-rare, and maybe 20% in the rare, really rare numismatic material. But the rarer the coin, the less volatility it takes. That's what I'm looking for. I want to be able to advise you and guide you, tell you when to buy and tell you when to sell. And these are all scenarios that are paramount to realizing the level of liquidity you need to maintain based on what your net worth is. Now, Net worth. Net worth is a combination of all of your assets minus your liabilities to get to a true net figure. When I look at material, when I look at the coins that have been created over the years by the government, and we go back to the U.S. Mint's formation back in April of 1792, literally at that time, Philadelphia was where coins, quote, that was where we headquartered ourselves before we moved the government down to Washington, D.C. And so understanding the different mints that produce coins, the different characteristics of the coins they produce, doesn't matter what the variety is. And that's really what I'm going to try and focus in on today is that you need to understand that of the different 9,000 different U.S. coins that have been produced over these many years, that it's about what you like. What you like and the value of the coins that goes into the portfolio is really important. Now, in speaking with Larry today, we talked about Morgan silver dollars. And Morgan silver dollars, you can get away with spending, on the conservative side, we'll call it $30,000. If I'm off by $1,000 or $2,000, I'm not trying to hit a firm number here, but non-graded, low-grade Morgan silver dollars are going to run somewhere between $25,000 to $30,000 on the low end. Those are some of the coins uncirculated and some of the coins not circulated coins. An 1893 San Francisco Morgan silver dollar, just to point out an example, in low grade, it may be $3,000. In Mint State 65, you could spend $500,000 or more. So that one single coin might upset the whole apple cart. But for me, I want to own $35 to $45 coins, and I want $100 to $500 coins. A $500 coin doesn't mean that you're overpaying for the coin. Au contraire. What it means is that it's got a basal value. It's always going to be worth more money than the silver in it. That's why I pointed out the 1893 San Francisco. Now, that's true in almost every single series of older numismatics, coins that were produced prior to, say, 1950. 1950 is a cutoff year. The 1916 D dime has 0.07 ounces of silver in it. But in any condition, if you can get one of them, even heavily circulated, you're going to spend $500 to $700 for it. At 0.07 ounces of silver, you're talking about $1.50. At $1.50 of value, it's silver. It's always going to be worth $500 to $700. I'm not trying to talk fast. I'm just telling you that there's always a value based on the grade of the coin, the quality of it, whether it was cleaned or polished. There's a lot of variables. And so that's one of the biggest contentions that you folks have to deal with. Now, Michael and I were talking earlier about Texas commemorative half-dollar sets. And those 13 coins in Mint State 67, we're trying to pull together so we could put a number out there. And there are some variables that will affect the value of the coin. A Mint State 67 with a CAC sticker or a plus sign or a star, you can end up spending anywhere from let's say $3,700 all the way up to $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for that coin, particularly if it's got any caramel toning on it. That's one of the desires that NGC looks at when they grade these coins. Now, I've got a coin that I've submitted no less than 5 times. It'll be headed off again for its 6th visit, probably after the first of the year. The coin has amazing caramel toning. It is exactly what they want, and this coin should be in a Mint State 68 holder. It's graded 66. It's never made it to 67. The last time through, they graded it 65, so it'll be on the shelf for a few months. My point in bringing it up is pure and simple. This is material that other people are going to seek down the road. And Texas half dollars, folks, the more that I talk about it, the more people find texascommem.com, the more they'll learn about it. I'm sitting on 21 notes right now that I would sell in the neighborhood of about $65,000. They are absolutely beautiful. They're PMG, third-party authenticated and graded. They range from circulated to about uncirculated. None of these notes are mint state 60 or better. However, they have notes from the government of Texas. Those notes have Sam Houston's signature, although Sam didn't sign it. Sam was injured during the war. But the notes themselves, in certain cases, are some of the finest known. If you'd like to own the finest known government of Texas note, it does bear Sam Houston's signature. That's a note that I would sell for in the neighborhood of about $150,000, $170,000. The note's gorgeous. It's PMG graded at the time, and I still believe it is the finest known note. And folks, for Texans, that's as good as it gets. You can drive by Sam Houston University up in Huntsville, but you can own the finest known example of that currency. This note dates in the 1838 to 1840s range. It is rare. It is desirable. Now, that's what this boils down to. Whether or not you seek auction quality material, or whether you just want to put together one of the sets, whether it's coins or currency, there's so many different ways of looking at the market, and I want to be able to encourage you in such a fashion that things make sense. I always repeat my email address, and so if you've got a pen and a piece of paper handy, it's Brett, B-R-E-T-T, at the, or the, T-H-E, thegoldexchange.net. You can always call the store. That's 281-548-2646. 281-548-2646. Hit option 0. That way you don't get trapped in the phone system. Now, if you're listening outside of the Houston market, 877-705-2646. Again, option 0. Now, folks, people shop and get educated about a lot of different product over time. And so for me, explaining this, it's really paramount that you get a grasp that there's a lot of different coins out there. And a lot of different coins doesn't necessarily mean that you want to shotgun yourself across the market. 9,000 different coins in 20 different conditions means the market is 180,000 across, and then you've got billions of coins deep. You don't want to shotgun yourself. You need to find a company that's going to hone in on the target. They're going to make sure that they recommend the same thing over and over and over again. Consistency in the market is what will help allow the market to appreciate. It's why you don't find the big banks coming into the coin community. Now, unfortunately, in 1989, coin dealers believed that at that time the big banks were coming. They had been talking about getting into the modern issue market. Those were coins that were minted for the out of the Isle of Man, or England was Great Britain was producing coins. Coins were being produced in limited quantities. Some sets as little as 5,000 to 10,000 pieces. Well, the Chinese dropped those mintages in certain cases all the way down under 500 coins. They forced them to be rare. But if you make 500 perfect coins and they're left in their perfect quality and their perfect condition, there's no attrition. That's what made U.S. coins back in the day rare. Attrition. They used them. They were legal tender. Today, you don't see young people use a silver American Eagle as legal tender. There's nobody popping a commemorative coin out to go spend it. And most cashiers in most grocery stores wouldn't know what the heck to do with a silver American Eagle. If you found them and you saw them, you got to realize that they're worth more than their dollar face value. At an ounce of silver, they're going to trade at about 21 bucks. Buy them in quantity, 500 coins or more. I've got a good friend who buys 25,000 coins at a time. He's a dealer. He buys a pallet of them. And by the pallet, 25,000 coins creates some serious weight. And dealers today that are well capitalized will send off thousands of coins to the grading companies. They'll be able to maximize the return somewhere between mid-state 69 and the perfect 70 grades. And those coins are going to command premiums. Now, today's release, coins that were struck today that are encapsulated and packaged properly, are going to bring the premium. No doubt about that. But it's the older coins, the Proof 69 or the Mint State 69 with the star and the plus sign. Those are coins that command premiums. Today's modern issue market is created by dealers so that you guys get the satisfaction of thinking that you've got something rare, when in essence there's a lot of them. I love spouse coins. I talk about them periodically. I love the ones 08, 9, and 10 where there's rarity. When 2011 came along and the price of gold shot up, the mintages stayed low, the premiums went higher. And so those investors that were smart enough and saw the foresight to get into gold when it was still trading really low, really made a lot of money. They're sitting on a huge profit. Folks, a few $1 million today controls a major percent of the Mint State or Proof 70 spouse market. And so when I talk about multinational companies, and I've got a good friend who is now a vice president in one of them, literally, they've got an entire floor of currency traders. This is an engineering firm that's found themselves in, quote, the thick of the currency market, because if you're producing a product for somewhere in the world, but the manufacturing is in another part and the headquarters are in a third part, you can see where currency could matter greatly. And ultimately, the fluctuation in value, I watch what's going on. Silver at $20.80 an ounce, to buy in small quantity, you may pay $26.50 for a silver eagle. Well, that $5 premium that you're paying is over 20 percentage points. Things change, and they change rather drastically. The premium platinum over gold is back to 10%. In the same time frame, we're now over 62 to 1 in the gold to silver ratio. Silver is a roaring buy. Building sets of Morgan silver dollars and peace silver dollars is prudent and it's smart. And when silver runs, they'll run. It happens all the time. And I've got some Mint State 63 peace dollars in the store right now. And I've got a pretty good selection of Morgans. And when you look and see the difference of grade, you can understand why I want certain coins in the first generation holder. And the different holders that have been produced by NGC and PCGS makes the coins more desirable. They bring bigger premiums. The bigger premium is something that you see when you bring your coins to auction. Now, if all of that is either making so much sense you ought to be wiring money, or you've got questions, folks, call the store. It's 281-548-2646. Michael has uploaded a brand new website for the gold exchange. We are slowly but surely working our way around the internet and creating new areas of the market. But consulting and talking about it is really important. If you ask 10 different coin guys what they think, you typically get 10 different answers. I'm the one guy that'll shoot you straight day in and day out and tell you exactly what he thinks all the time regarding whatever piece of material you've interpreted or read or you're getting into. I love coins. I love them in all different sizes and shapes. And while I don't always agree with NGC or PCGS, what I do agree with is the simple fact that there is money to be made and money to be protected. And the question out there is paper where you want to keep putting your money, or do you want to get a portion of it into something that's tangible, that will protect you? Please make sure that you find a safe place in and around your home. Don't just put it in a safety deposit box. That is absolute financial suicide. If there's an emergency and you've got to get to the bulk of your wealth and it's sitting in a safety deposit box, that is an absolute formula for disaster. After, say, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday until 9 a.m. Monday, you have no access into that bank. And if anything happens in the world and there's a bank holiday, you're SOL. Now, the only people who tend to get away with that are the people who steal things and they stash them in their houses or they put them in their safes. Those people are exempt from worrying about the bank. What they ought to be worried about is what God's going to deem. And that's coming in its own good sweet time. Anyway, folks, it's been 30 minutes. I appreciate you listening. I never get off air without thanking Texas Children's Hospital, both the Downs Clinic and the Ronald McDonald House. Folks, if you're looking for somewhere to provide an extra blessing, a tithe or an offering, please go to themeltdown.com, click on the donation link for the Downs Clinic. The Myers Center is located just south of the Fannin location of Texas Children's. Dr. Ostermeyer and her staff have grown their facility to the point they needed to get out of the facility. If you're looking to tithe, click on the donation link, your name, address, city, state, zip. The amount of money you want to offer is totally anonymous for me. The Ronald McDonald House at Texas Children's on the 4th floor. There are 20 rooms. It's for 40 to 60 people a night. If you can provide a hot meal, please call 832-824-8600. That's 832-824-8600. Nancy Allen and her staff would be more than happy to help you. I appreciate the doctors, nurses, staff, and of course, the volunteers. Folks, have a great weekend. If you come up with any questions, email me, Brett, B-R-E-T-T, at thegoldexchange.net. Give me a call, leave a message. Phone number 281-548-2646. Option 0. Have a great day. God bless you, and enjoy your weekend. Thanks again. We'll see you next week. Did you kill it?